The speaker thought he was running the room, until Jasmine Crockett leaned into that mic and flipped the entire hearing on its head. You could almost hear the air shift, that kind of tension where every camera operator leans forward, waiting for history to happen. Mike Johnson had that trademark calm smile, the one he wears right before he drops a lecture on the Constitution. But today, that smile was about to fade real quick. Because Crockett didn't walk into that room to play defense. She came to settle scores. The gavel hit, and Johnson started doing what he always does. Slow talk, long pauses, building his moment like he's narrating a church sermon. But Crockett, she was studying him. Silent, still, laser-locked. The kind of quiet that tells you someone's loading ammunition, not words. You can see the staffers glancing at each other, that, oh no, it's about to go down look. And right then, she leans forward, clears her throat, and everything goes still. That's when the storm began. Her voice cuts through the room, steady but sharp enough to slice through his composure. She starts with facts, clean and cold, walking him straight into his own contradictions. Each sentence lands heavier than the last. Johnson tries to interrupt, but she doesn't even blink. She keeps going, driving point after point like a litigator who already knows the verdict. The speaker shifts in his seat. His jaw tightens, and for the first time all session, he looks unsure. That's the tell. The moment the game flips. You could feel the crowd catching it too. A few laughs, a few gasps, even a cough from the back row that sounded like a smothered dam. Crockett keeps pressing. No notes, no hesitation, just pure command. It wasn't loud, it wasn't angry, it was surgical. She wasn't here to yell, she was here to win. Every sentence backed him into a smaller and smaller corner until he had nowhere left to go but silence. And she made sure the silence was loud. When Johnson finally tries to regain control, he starts tossing in those lawyer-style deflections, the with all due respect lines that usually buy him a few seconds. Not today. Crockett slides right through them, turns his own phrasing against him, and lands one of those lines that belongs on every political highlight reel. Precise, fearless, and devastating. You can see Johnson blink, searching for a comeback that just isn't there. The speaker's gavel doesn't save him, not this time. The camera pans across the dais. Members who were scrolling their phones are suddenly watching. Even the aides behind Crockett look stunned. They know they're witnessing a moment that's about to hit every feed in America. Twitter, TikTok, late-night news. This exchange is going everywhere. But what makes it viral isn't just the clash, it's the confidence. She dismantled his argument with the calm of someone who's been underestimated one too many times, and now she's done holding back. The energy in that room flips completely. Johnson, usually in control, is now reacting, defending, explaining. Crockett doesn't move. She just listens, lets him talk himself deeper, and when he pauses for breath, she goes in again. Short, crisp, lethal. The kind of rhetorical precision you only see from someone who knows exactly how power works and isn't afraid to call it out. It's not chaos anymore. It's choreography. She's directing every second of this exchange. The audience can feel it too. That rush of watching someone seize control of a room that wasn't built for them. It's not just politics, it's personal. Every word she says carries the weight of every time she's been talked over or dismissed in that chamber. Now she's flipping the script, live in front of the country. And Johnson knows it. His eyes drop for a second, just a second. But that's all it takes. That's the moment everyone remembers. The room goes quiet, and Crockett delivers the line that seals it. You can almost hear the collective inhale from the crowd. She leans back, calm again, mission complete. Johnson tries to move to the next agenda item, but it's too late. The damage is done. The clip is already being clipped, captioned, and shared. The Speaker of the House just got fact-checked in real time, and the internet is eating it up. What makes this moment special isn't just that Crockett won the exchange. It's how she did it. No shouting, no chaos, no personal attacks, just sharp intelligence, bold confidence, and that unshakable tone that says, I've done my homework, and I'm not here for your performance. That's what hits people. It feels real. It feels earned. It's the kind of authenticity that breaks through the noise of Washington. By the end, even her critics are quiet. They can spin it later, edit it down, twist the sound bites, but the live feed doesn't lie. What millions of viewers see is power shifting, not in theory, but in practice. The crowd knows it, the commentators know it, and Mike Johnson definitely knows it. Jasmine Crockett walked into that chamber underestimated and walked out owning the moment. But this clash didn't start today. It's been brewing behind closed doors for months. And if this was just the warm-up, what's coming next might be the biggest confrontation Congress has seen all year. You ever see two lawyers who can't stand each other finally square off? That's what this hearing was. Not just another day in Congress, but the kind of slow burn showdown that's been brewing like bad coffee for weeks. From the moment Jasmine Crockett walked in, you could tell she wasn't here for the political theater. She had that look, calm, focused, but ready to cut through the noise. Across the table, Mike Johnson sat tall, wearing that same half smile he uses every time he wants to sound above it all. He's got that constitutional purity energy, always quoting the founders, always pretending the law bends to his version of right and wrong. But Crockett, she lives in the real world, where laws hit people's lives, not just paper. And here's the thing about tension. It doesn't explode right away. It lingers, hums under every polite word, every fake smile. You could feel it between them, like static before lightning. Every time Johnson dropped a line about decorum or respect for the institution, Crockett just raised an eyebrow, the kind that says, I see right through you, and we're about to have that talk you've been avoiding. The audience may have thought this was going to be another polite back and forth, but if they'd been paying attention to their past hearings, they'd have known this was personal. Flashback to just a week before. Johnson cutting her off mid-sentence, trying to correct her tone, acting like the referee of civility while taking jabs the whole time. That clip had already gone viral, and Crockett remembered. So today, she came with the facts lined up. Every quote, every report, every contradiction he'd ever tried to slide past her. You could almost see the folders in her mind opening one by one. Johnson didn't even realize he'd walked into a trap that had been built over time, brick by brick, moment by moment, until there was no escape. When the questioning started, Johnson leaned back, that condescending calm dripping off him. He thought he could handle this like every other exchange, drown her out with legal jargon and scripted confidence. But this time, Crockett wasn't asking questions to get answers. She was asking to expose patterns, the kind that make even a seasoned politician squirm. Each question cut deeper, connecting dots that Johnson hoped no one would ever align on camera. He kept reaching for those constitutional buzzwords like a lifeline, but Crockett was 3 steps ahead, stripping them of their shine with plain, direct truth. Then came the moment everyone felt in their gut, when she said his logic only works if you ignore the human cost. That line hit like a punch. The room shifted. Even the committee aides stopped typing for a second. Johnson tried to smile it off, but his hand said otherwise, tapping the table, pen spinning, that nervous energy that no gavel could hide. Crockett just waited, cool and patient, watching him try to rebuild the composure she'd just shattered. The tension wasn't just between two politicians anymore. It was a clash of worlds. Johnson represents the system, polished, privileged, built on order and control. Crockett represents reality, raw and unapologetic, built on lived experience and hard-earned credibility. When those two forces collide, sparks don't just fly, they burn. And every viewer watching from home could feel that heat. It wasn't about party lines anymore. It was about who could speak truth without flinching. She didn't need to yell. Her silence between words said everything. Every pause made Johnson's discomfort louder. And when he finally tried to jump in, she waved him off with a quick, "Let me finish," that silenced him faster than any procedural rule. That's when the crowd knew she wasn't here to debate. She was here to dismantle. Johnson looked to his colleagues for backup, but no one wanted that smoke. They knew this was turning into a highlight reel moment, one that could define the rest of the session. You can almost imagine the control room switching camera angles, zooming in on every flicker of reaction, every bead of sweat. The internet was going to have a field day, and everyone in that chamber could feel it happening live. But the wildest part? Crockett didn't even raise her voice once. She let logic do the damage. She took every point Johnson made, turned it inside out, and handed it back to him like, here's what you actually said, now own it. He couldn't. You could see it, that flicker in his eyes when he realized the narrative had slipped out of his hands. By the time her time was up, the room wasn't just quiet, it was charged. The speaker who came in to assert control now looked like a man trying to find the exit. Crockett leaned back, cool as ever, her expression saying everything her words didn't have to. She didn't need applause. She knew this exchange was already clipping its way to every social feed in America. And when Johnson thought he could flex that constitutional law degree, Crockett pulled receipts, literal, verbal, and historical. What started as a hearing turned into a masterclass, and the real storm was only just getting started. This is where she sets the trap, quietly, surgically. One question, 27 words long, and the speaker walks right in like a deer caught in headlights. You could feel the whole room shift, like someone just hit the pause button on reality. Crockett leans into the mic, calm as a Sunday morning, and drops it. Can you explain why? The words hit hard, precise, unavoidable, and for a split second, the gavel might as well have been a metronome marking every heartbeat in the chamber. Johnson blinks, just once, but that tiny hesitation speaks volumes. He never saw it coming, and yet everyone watching knows exactly what just happened. The cameras catch every twitch of his expression, every subtle shift in posture. Social media is already warming up. This clip is about to go viral before she even finishes the sentence. The tension is electric. You can almost hear the collective intake of breath from the gallery. Staffers freeze, reporters lean forward, and every political junkie in America is about to see a masterclass in congressional cross-examination. Crockett's question isn't loud, it's not flashy. It's devastating because it forces him into a corner using his own words. Each syllable builds, like a countdown, until the speaker has nowhere to hide. He reaches for his notes, flips pages faster than the human eye can follow, trying to find something, anything that will save him from the trap he just walked into. But Crockett anticipated everything. She didn't just study his policies, she studied his patterns, his speeches, his public statements, every time he tried to position himself as a constitutional authority. Every move he makes now is reactive. He tries to pivot, inject legal jargon, but Crockett isn't having it. She interrupts with surgical precision, reframing his words, flipping his arguments, exposing contradictions he didn't even know were visible. Johnson's calm, practiced persona begins to crack. That smile he wears to control the room falters. His hands tighten around the pen, and even his breathing seems to betray him. You can literally see the weight of his own words collapsing on him. The room is silent, every member of the committee and audience hanging on her next line like it's the climax of a thriller. She doesn't shout. She doesn't theatrically slam her notes on the table. She's ice cold, measured, and every pause she takes is deliberate. Each beat gives Johnson a chance to respond, but also forces him to reveal more of his inconsistencies. The camera lingers on his face, capturing the subtle panic, the sweat forming along his hairline, the way he adjusts his tie like it could magically restore control. This is why people can't stop watching. It's real, it's raw, and it's the kind of political theater you can't script. Crockett continues, following up on the initial strike with pinpoint follow-ups that dig even deeper. She calls out the contradictions between his stated constitutional philosophy and how courts have historically interpreted it. Every time he attempts a defense, she turns it back on him, making him explain inconsistencies that should have never been exposed in public. The gallery watches stunned. The Republican members fidget, some exchanging quick, nervous glances, realizing they're witnessing a complete unraveling of someone they normally defend. The Democratic members lean forward, barely containing their astonishment at the methodical dismantling happening right before their eyes. And then it hits. The moment Johnson realizes the question isn't just an obstacle, it's a spotlight on his entire legal approach. Every word he has built his career around, originalism, constitutional fidelity, expertise, is being tested, and he's struggling. That confidence that radiated when he walked in, gone.
The weight of the trap Crockett set is crushing him in real time. You can almost hear the collective thought from everyone in the room. How do you recover from this? Crockett doesn't relent. She leans in again, calm but cutting, each sentence building tension like a drumbeat. The cameras capture every second, the expressions frozen in time, a visual story of dominance, intellect, and precision. The gallery doesn't need her to shout. The silence after each question says more than any dramatic gesture ever could. Every pause lets the reality sink in. Mike Johnson, the speaker, the constitutional authority, is completely exposed. His face said it all: disbelief, frustration, panic, but the real damage hadn't even started yet. Social media is about to explode. Every clip, every meme, every headline is going to frame this moment as one of the most savage, precise takedowns in congressional history. Crockett's calm authority has set the stage, and what comes next is going to be remembered, dissected, and replayed for weeks. She's just getting started, and anyone watching knows this isn't the end of the storm, it's only the beginning.
You can literally see the switch. His smile fades, that pen starts spinning like it's got a mind of its own. The moment hits like a punch in slow motion. You don't even need to be a political junkie to feel it. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Crockett isn't yelling, she isn't gesturing wildly, she's calm, measured, almost serene. But every word she drops lands like a hammer on steel. Each question is crafted like a chess move, forcing Johnson to step where she wants him, leaving no room to maneuver. He's cornered, and it's visible in every twitch, every bead of sweat forming on his forehead. Her style is surgical. She sets a rhythm like a courtroom cross-exam, letting each statement breathe while Johnson tries to scramble for a lifeline. She follows up with subtle precision, connecting historical court cases to his public statements, his legal briefs, everything he's built his image around. She doesn't need theatrics. The logic itself is a weapon, and Johnson is on the receiving end with no shield. Every pause is intentional, letting the audience digest the contradiction before she hits the next point. The rhythm of her questioning is hypnotic, building suspense while she dismantles his credibility piece by piece. Johnson tries to regain control. He leans in, starts to answer, but Crockett interrupts, softly, almost politely, but enough to snap the spotlight back on him. You can feel the shift in the room. The gallery leans forward, the reporters stop typing, the aides hold their breath. This isn't just another hearing. It's a masterclass in power dynamics. Every time he tries to pivot, she gently but firmly nudges him back into the trap she built. She's rewriting the rules as they go, flipping the hierarchy of authority so that the person who entered with confidence is now reacting to her every move. Slow motion shots of Johnson's reactions tell the story better than any voiceover. The slight twitch in his mouth, the tightening of his jaw, the pen spinning faster and faster. It's like watching someone realize the ground beneath them is gone. And the audience at home can't look away. You feel the FOMO. Missing this moment means missing one of the most precise intellectual takedowns in modern congressional history. Every second he struggles, Crockett's calm grows more imposing. She's not flustered. She's not rattled. She's fully in control, dictating the tempo and forcing him into vulnerability. This isn't just a clash of ideas, it's a collision of experience versus pretense, reality versus image. Crockett's approach is rooted in facts, precedent, and lived experience. Johnson's facade of constitutional mastery is cracking under the weight of her questions. He thought he could play the expert, dominate the room with credentials and polished speeches, but she anticipated every move, every potential dodge, and she's exploiting it flawlessly. The power isn't just shifting, it's being rewritten in real time. The gallery starts to murmur, not loud enough to break the moment, but enough to add to the tension.
Even his colleagues can see it. The speaker is no longer leading the narrative. He's reacting, stumbling, defending, explaining, apologizing in microseconds. Crockett's questions are not random. They are carefully constructed strikes that illuminate the contradictions in his entire legal philosophy. And with each answer he gives, he digs the hole deeper, unknowingly validating the trap he laid with such meticulous care. And the real kicker? She doesn't gloat. There's no smugness in her tone, no theatrics, just relentless clarity. That's what makes this so devastating. It's intellect versus ego, strategy versus bluster. You watch, glued to the screen, because every second you look away is a second you miss a subtle twist, a nuance that could make Johnson look even worse. The tension is addictive, almost cinematic. By the time her questioning segment reaches its climax, the room is silent in awe. Johnson sits back, visibly exhausted, trying to salvage authority that's slipping through his fingers. Crockett's calm composure contrasts so starkly with his faltering confidence that the audience can't help but feel the shift. The freshman representative from Texas has taken the reins, and the Speaker of the House is the one playing defense. The power dynamic isn't just altered, it's inverted. And just when you think it can't get more intense, Crockett lays the final point on the table, connecting his selective legal interpretations to decades of precedent he has conveniently ignored. The room freezes. Johnson knows he's caught, the gallery knows it, and anyone watching from home knows it. Social media is going to erupt, and the clip will circulate for weeks. But Crockett wasn't just landing punches, she was rewriting the power dynamic in real time. Every word, every pause, every pointed glance built a narrative of authority that belonged to her and only her. By the time she finished, Johnson wasn't just uncomfortable, he was exposed. The speaker walked in confident, thinking he controlled the story. Crockett walked out the one who dictated the moment, and America watching knew they had just witnessed a master class in congressional precision.
Look at the body language. Even Jordan glances at the clock like, we gotta get him out of here. You can practically feel the air in the room shift. The speaker walks in with swagger, pensively prepared, thinking he's in full control. But by now, the room itself seems to conspire with Crockett. Conservative members glance down at their notes, avoid eye contact, trying not to witness the unraveling of their leader. The gallery leans forward, murmurs suppressed. Phones secretly recording. Every frame of this moment screams tension, suspense, and inevitability. Media outlets are already primed to pounce. The narrative has shifted, and Crockett is holding the pen. Headlines are ready to scream, "Speaker exposed," and Crockett schools Johnson. Johnson shifts in his chair, forcing a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Crockett remains composed, letting the silence amplify the impact of her points. Her rhythm is deliberate, almost like a metronome, and each logical strike lands clean. She's not just asking questions, she's choreographing the disintegration of his authority in front of everyone. You can see the realization hit him. The room no longer bends to his ego. The confidence he brought with him evaporates, replaced by visible tension and frantic note-flipping. Every pause she takes intensifies the suspense, letting both the audience and Johnson digest the power shift. The narrative of control has changed hands. Crockett's calm authority forces everyone in the room, including the speaker, to recalibrate. She links his selective legal interpretations to past inconsistencies, framing his arguments against his own public statements. The effect is magnetic. Even journalists in the back are caught, fingers hovering over keyboards, ready to fire off breaking news alerts. This isn't just a hearing, it's a live demonstration of intellectual dominance and strategy, and it's happening in real time. Social media will explode because you can feel the FOMO. Missing this means missing a historic political takedown. Every movement in the room tells a story. Johnson adjusts his tie, coughs nervously, spins the pen faster. Crockett's calm demeanor contrasts sharply, making the speaker's struggle even more visible.
Jordan shifts in his seat, glances at the clock, signaling the subtle urgency that even committee leadership recognizes. She isn't shouting, but the room bends to her will. The tension builds with each precise question, each carefully placed follow-up, highlighting contradictions Johnson can't escape. Conservative colleagues are now fully aware that the narrative has flipped. Even outside the chamber, reporters are sending updates, viewers glued to live streams, and social media is poised to make this moment go viral. Crockett's mastery lies in her ability to combine courtroom precision with political insight. She exposes the fragility of Johnson's arguments without resorting to theatrics. Each phrase is measured, each point cuts like a scalpel. She amplifies his mistakes subtly, using his own rhetoric as the weapon. The audience can almost feel the weight of the intellectual blows landing on him. By the time she reaches the final segment of her questioning, the entire room is captivated, and every member, Republican or Democrat, is subconsciously acknowledging her dominance. And then it happens, the final strike. She delivers the line that cements the narrative, connecting the dots between his legal philosophy and the real-world contradictions it produces. The room collectively exhales. Even Johnson seems momentarily stunned. The shift is palpable. The speaker's authority is challenged, his image questioned, and the public is watching it all unfold. Media headlines already begin to form in real time. Speaker exposed. Crockett schools Johnson. Freshman representative shakes Capitol. Every camera angle, every social media clip reinforces the moment. The gallery's reaction is subtle, but telling. Members of Congress shift uncomfortably, reporters exchange glances, and staffers quietly take notes, realizing that this isn't just political theater, this is a blueprint for dismantling selective constitutional arguments. Crockett has taken control without raising her voice, without theatrics, yet her presence dominates the narrative. Her questions are surgical, each one strategically placed to amplify the impact of the last. By the time she dropped her last line, it wasn't just a mic drop, it was a masterclass. Johnson is left fumbling, the gallery is in stunned silence, and the country watching online is captivated. The shift isn't only in that room, it's in the headlines, the tweets, the political chatter that will follow. Every subtle glance, every pause, every carefully crafted question becomes part of the story. Jasmine Crockett didn't just ask questions, she rewrote the power dynamic, controlled the narrative, and exposed contradictions in real time. As cameras cut and live streams continue rolling, the impact is undeniable. The narrative has turned, and Crockett's command of the room ensures it's her story everyone will be talking about. Johnson walked in confident, prepared to flex his constitutional expertise, and he left scrambling, outmaneuvered by precision, intellect, and preparation. The room turned, the narrative turned, and anyone who witnessed it knows that this is a moment that won't be forgotten anytime soon.
The moment that clip hit Twitter, Capitol Hill went nuclear. You could almost hear the collective gasp echoing through D.C., from committee rooms to lobby hallways. Phones buzzed nonstop, reporters scrambled, and social media feeds lit up with clips of Crockett calmly dismantling Johnson in real time. Every angle, every freeze frame of him blinking, adjusting his tie, or flipping through notes became fodder for commentary, memes, and political hot takes. Even seasoned journalists leaned back, stunned, whispering, "Did we just watch history?" The sheer velocity of the clip going viral had lawmakers scrambling. Even the speaker's allies weren't immune to the shockwave. Across newsrooms, analysts dissected every word, every pause, and every subtle inflection of Crockett's questioning style. CNN ran panels replaying her logic strike after logic strike, highlighting the contradictions in Johnson's claims. Fox commentators, usually quick to defend the speaker, paused, scrutinized, and sometimes conceded, even if begrudgingly, that the takedown was surgical.
On Twitter, the hashtags Crockett Schools Johnson and Speaker Exposed were trending nationally within minutes. You could feel the FOMO building. If you weren't watching live, you were already behind on one of the most precise political takedowns of the year. The fallout wasn't limited to the media. Members of Congress whispered in hallways, aides hurriedly fact-checked statements, and strategists scrambled to manage the optics. Every clip, every screenshot, every highlight reel painted a picture that was impossible to ignore. Johnson's credibility, long considered untouchable by his conservative base, was now publicly questioned. And the kicker? Crockett never raised her voice. She didn't resort to theatrics. Her calm, measured demeanor only amplified the impact of the destruction she left in her wake. It was a masterclass in using intellect and preparation as weapons, and the audience could feel it. Meanwhile, Crockett herself remained composed. In a brief post-hearing statement, she reminded the press that her job was about accountability, not theater. Her tone was steady, her words deliberate, and yet they carried the weight of someone who had just shifted the conversation in Washington. Consistency in legal philosophy isn't a partisan issue. It's fundamental to the rule of law. Watching her juxtapose against the chaos unfolding around her, the contrast was striking. While Johnson and his allies scrambled, she exuded control, clarity, and confidence, the quiet power move that made the viral clip so compelling. The social media storm only grew. Clips of her asking the pivotal question were shared millions of times, dissected by law students, political analysts, and everyday Americans trying to make sense of what they just witnessed. Each replay underscored her poise, her preparation, and the precision with which she exposed the inconsistencies in Johnson's philosophy. People were talking, debating, arguing, and sharing. And in that moment, Crockett became more than a congresswoman. She became a symbol of intellectual authority and fearless accountability. Even conservative think tanks and legal advocacy groups were forced to take notice. The meticulously curated image of Johnson as a constitutional expert had cracks, and Crockett had exposed them in the most public, undeniable way possible. Law professors started incorporating the exchange into classroom discussions, dissecting her tactics, and teaching the next generation how to question authority while remaining calm and strategic. Political operatives recognized that a single, well-prepared individual could fundamentally alter the narrative in a room full of seasoned politicians. Back in the Capitol, whispers turned into conversations, and conversations into strategic recalibrations. The day after the hearing, every office seemed to be grappling with the same truth. Jasmine Crockett had changed the game. Her approach wasn't about partisan victory. It was about setting a precedent, showing that preparation, clarity, and consistency could outmaneuver status, position, and ego. People weren't just talking about the argument she won, they were talking about the playbook she had rewritten. And that's the real impact. This wasn't a fleeting viral clip. It was a demonstration of power dynamics and accountability. Crockett didn't just win in the hearing room. She shifted the expectations for how authority is challenged in Washington. The public now saw a new standard, one where facts, logic, and precision could expose contradictions that even the most powerful figures struggled to defend. You felt the FOMO, because missing this meant missing a moment where history, strategy, and intellect collided in real time. By the time the dust settled, the narrative was clear. Crockett's calm authority had reshaped the story, the conversation, and the expectations of what's possible in congressional oversight. She didn't just win an argument, she rewrote the playbook for how power gets checked in Washington. And the clip, the reactions, and the lessons will ripple across politics for months, if not years, reminding everyone watching that preparation, intellect, and precision can topple even the most fortified of political facades.